long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, it is over 118 days since this episode was recorded, and we continue to stand with all the unions facing the AMPTP in the fights that have passed and the fights to come. We take you now to a story from Will Tracy and Seth Rice, equal parts satire, condemnation, and good old-fashioned nihilistic schadenfreude. With Mark Mylod directing and an ensemble of eccentrics, the table is set for a meal unlike any other. The menu is rated R for strong and disturbing violent content, foul language, and some sexual references, and may not be suitable for all audiences. Please proceed according to your comfort level. Hello there, and welcome back to 6 Degrees of Star Wars, the podcast where we explore all the ways that George Lucas's flagship franchise surrounds us, binds us, and penetrates us in the landscape of cinema. I'm your host, Sam Marchioni. Joining me today is Matt Madrano.
Hi there.
Jasmine Garcia.
You know, I could really go for a cheeseburger right now.
And Callie Castle.
Hey, everybody.
And today we are covering a Degree 4, a movie which features somebody who appeared in one Star Wars project. And we have picked The Menu, which features John Leguizamo, who did a one-off voice in one episode of The Mandalorian. I live for these kind of vague stretches, but goddamn, The Menu. I actually saw this movie in theaters twice.
I was shocked at how much I fell in love with this.
Same.
Especially because I don't know if you guys remember the marketing, but I went into this thinking it was going to be a very literal Eat the Rich movie.
Listen, I've heard it described as Hannibal fanfiction. There is shockingly little cannibalism in this Hannibal fanfiction, because it is definitely still Hannibal fanfiction.
It's also not gay enough to be Hannibal fanfiction from what I've seen of Hannibal fanfiction.
I mean, depends on which version of Hannibal. If you're going with the one with Clarice, it absolutely is.
I mean, all I heard about it was that it's honestly a straight-up horror movie, and then you see it, and then that it's not really a horror movie.
It's a black comedy.
With
mostly.
horror elements. Although Margot is now my favorite final girl. She somehow managed to dethrone Sidney Prescott, which, if I get on the Scream 3 episode, you will understand how huge that is.
Has Anya Taylor-Joy ever died in a horror movie? She seems to have a knack for surviving them.
That is true. I mean, she got started with the Vitch, so yeah, you're not wrong.
No, I think she's this generation's final girl.
She's the anti-Sean Bean.
Yes.
And we love that.
And since we are recording this right when the SAG-AFTRA strike has begun, and I would be loath to ignore the fact that this is a movie that is very much about class solidarity. It is very much about the exploitation of workers. So imagine my disappointment when previous guest and friend of the podcast, Brian Harris, showed us an r/movies post by Spencer for Hire 83, a background actor who has worked, among other things, on The Menu and has been subjected to AI body scans as part of the studio's attempts to scam artists out of their work and steal their ownership of their likeness. And Star Wars is a franchise tied to this. Like, Carrie Fisher had a long-standing joke of,
"And though amongst your many possessions you have owned my likeness, lo, all these years, so that every time I look in the mirror, I have to send you a check for a couple of bucks."
Like, God damn it. Solidarity forever with our fellow entertainers.
Absolutely.
And you have to wonder if the entire premise of this movie would fall apart if they had properly unionized.
Oh, 100%. None of this would have happened if they were properly unionized.
Here's the thing. I don't think so when you think about it. Because when you think about what Slowick does and how he views his job, I guess his art, I think he was going to go crazy either way.
I mean, you could argue that the entire setup of the movie, like, this is their form of unionizing. It's just the most weird death cult version of unionizing ever.
Yeah. This is what conservatives think unionizing is.
Well, I've worked under a union contract before, and oddly enough, some of my non-union jobs were better than my union job. At my union job, we were allowed to work 12 hours a day for up to 3 days in a row, and up to 13 days in a row with no day off.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
true.
Obviously, unions are not perfect, but we have to also remember that a lot of this has to do with unions losing a lot of bargaining power thanks to the efforts of one-time SAG-AFTRA president Ronald Reagan!
Everything comes back to Reagan.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying it's the union's fault, just that the union contract was weak and didn't really do much for us.
Reagan!
We're glad you died at Prime Month, asshole!
There is a reason that George Lucas named the Trade Federation's leader Gonray.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting a little sidetracked from talking about the actual movie. This is a damn good movie. It's so eminently watchable and so well paced.
I thought I wouldn't like it at first because I'm not a big horror person. About the most horror I've watched is Scream and Silence of the Lambs type stuff. And so, like Matthew said, I had heard that it was a horror film that, of utmost degree. So I was like, oh, I don't know. But Jazz was like, no, it's Hannibal fan fiction. You'll like it. And I loved it more than I could have expected.
It definitely does have some horror hallmarks with, like, the creepy string instruments. That's a big part of it.
And again, the final shot with the final girl, just...
Chef's kiss.
Okay, I do have to go on a bit of a... have you guys heard one of the most infamous theories around this movie?
No.
Do tell.
Not
So-
really, no.
There is a contingent of people who think that the burger that Slowick made for Margot was made with old meat, and therefore she is going to be killed regardless.
No.
And I'm like, no!
No, that goes against the whole point.
The point!
It misses the whole point. The whole idea is that by ordering that cheeseburger, she helped him feel some love for his quote-unquote art again, because someone actually ate it to appreciate it.
That's the thing. When you look at when he's serving her the burger, there's a very slight smile on Fine's face. A very slight smile. So you just know that everything's going to be at least okay for her in the end.
Mm-hmm. Like, he is so moved just by this one person just wanting to eat because the food nourishes you instead of trying to make yourself look good. Which is
Unlike a certain asshole.
a lot of assholes in this movie. That's like the whole thing.
Which asshole were you referring to, Callie? Was that a shot at Tyler, or...
I'm bad at names. It's the, let me look at the script. Hang on.
It's Tyler.
Yeah, okay.
the asshole who hired Margot?
Yeah.
Knowing she would...
Yeah.
I wanted to jump across the table.
I actually came across that theory because, as part of my prep for this, I checked out... Binging with Babish did 2 videos on it. They did a video about the cheeseburger, and they did a video about Tyler's bullshit.
Yes.
And it's also really fucking funny because, like, half the comments on the cheeseburger video are, oh my god, way to miss the point of the movie by making the cheeseburger fancier.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you watch the video, it's less making the cheeseburger fancier than trying to take the information from the movie and be like, okay, how do you make a cheeseburger in that situation? Because even if the cheeseburger itself is super basic, the accoutrements all around are super bougie. So,
Yeah, no, Binging with Babish is not the kind of person who's going to let the point go way over his head. I've watched a bunch of his videos. He doesn't do that, Like, people just love to overthink sometimes in that regard.
people love to be right on the internet.
Yep, that's true too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I feel like it connects a bit to how people behaved in this movie.
Oh my god.
The
The
critics
3
are so
tech
insufferable.
bros, or
I was
whoever,
thinking of-
finance bros, whatever you want to call them.
Oh, God.
They were
Shout out to
so
Arturo,
obnoxious.
though. He was so funny in this. But he's funny in just about everything. But
Those finance bros were insufferable.
so are the critics, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole idea. Everybody here is insufferable. Except for Margot.
Okay, besides Margot, the only one I felt, like, remotely sorry for was Felicity. right up until the best line in the movie.
Was it the student loans line?
It was the student loans line.
It's like,
And-
damn, Shira.
We were rooting for
Hey,
you.
Adora. You're gonna die because you scammed us on the student loans.
That whole arc between her and Leguizamo is just the most relatable thing in the movie. Because I just thought, like, this woman who's at the, I don't want to say the bottom, because obviously she's the assistant to a movie star, but she's near the bottom for that room. And she's just going back and forth with him, like, why won't you get me a job? Oh yeah, I wrote you a bad rec at Sony and blah, blah, blah. And of course, that might as well be your death warrant in this business. But, I was just like, until the student loans line, the first time I saw it, I was like, let her go with Margot. And then the second that student loans line hit,
She
I
even
was
like makes a face like, yeah, okay, fair.
I had
God.
this coming.
You kind of get the feeling that the movie star absolutely would scab.
Oh, yeah.
He would scab.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, 1000%.
But funny thing about the movie star, at one point, early on in the conception of the script, they intended that role for Daniel Radcliffe.
No.
I would have lost
And
my mind.
instead of the imaginary calling Dr. Sunshine, it was going to be his role in Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein. whatever. You know the one I'm talking about, right? It was
Oh my
him
god,
and
and the
James
fact that it would have
McAvoy.
been, and the fact that it would have been Ralph Fiennes saying that. Oh my god.
Oh!
That's kind of brilliant.
I am glad that they went with John Leguizamo,
Oh,
though,
yeah.
because
For one thing,
Daniel
he's amazing.
Radcliffe, for one thing, Daniel Radcliffe has been going much more into his fun, weird era.
I made my
Shout out
money.
to shout out to the Al Yankovic story, but he just Daniel Radcliffe is also, I think, not old enough to have been enough of an asshole
Yeah, and
to really have the energy that the movie star needs.
I could kind of buy it, honestly, because you gotta understand, that kid's been famous since he was 10,
yep.
and not just like a Haley Joel Osment thing where it's like you kind of ramp it up to the Sixth Sense.
Mhm.
His second or third job, I believe, was the first Harry Potter, and that's putting
Yep.
you in front of every camera in the world.
Mhm.
So it's like,
Yep.
I would totally believe, in theory, that he would be, that caricature of a character would be that much of an asshole with Radcliffe doing it.
Moving back to our guests, then, I kind of feel bad for Mrs. Liebrandt, played by Judith Light. If this ever becomes a stage play, she has to reprise her role, but, like, I mean, for the most part, she doesn't seem like that bad of a person, but then it's just, you know, she's rich and she's careless, but compared to her husband, she's a saint.
Compared to most
True.
people in that room, she's a saint.
I mean, the fact that
Yeah.
she was the one who out and out just like, no, Margot, go. And especially considering she realized that, you know, her husband hired Margot in the past. So it's just like...
And hired Margot because Margot looks like their daughter.
Ugh.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, no wonder that flustered her. That's... ugh.
Ugh,
It's like, you
boy.
need to go.
Given that they're both super rich and have come 11 times, like, yeah, they definitely made their money off exploiting labor and wage theft and whatnot.
For sure.
I
But
was trying to do the math on that. That's got to be like, what, 200 grand?
Probably. Something around there.
still better than going in a Titan submersible. Hey!
Topical! But just... this was just so well done, because one thing I love is that they don't let Fiennes' character off the hook at all. Because, you know, he has that point where he's like, nope, I was wrong, Margot's a taker. So you have this high-class chef who owns this who runs this restaurant, saying this to a sex worker.
I'm fascinated by this the way this movie presents its opinions of sex work, because on one hand, it is enormously sex positive in just referring to sex workers as providers of experience.
True.
At first it doesn't like shame Margot, but then he pulls out the W word. And I'm like,
I think that was intentional, though.
I think it is intentional, but at the same time, that kind of casts a pall over the whole thing. It's like suggesting that there's something inherently wrong, I guess, with choosing to provide your services to that sort of point.
Part of me thinks that was the kicker for Slowick's God complex, where it's like, I am the ultimate provider, everyone else takes from me, and like, I think it felt like when he calls her the W word, that sort of gives us, the audience, to say, we're allowed to just realize, okay, screw him.
Exactly. Like, for me personally, keep in mind, this is the same motherfucker who decided he was going to quote Martin Luther King Jr. The whitest of white men decided to do that. Which,
that was
again, excellent commentary there. Like, yes, he's right, but he's the kind of person who is not thinking intersectionally, basically.
Oh my god. The reveal that Catherine was the one who was like, we should kill everybody.
I love her.
She was great.
She's a fascinating character. I kind of wish there was more of her, but I like her a lot more in this version, in the final version, than in the screenplay version. So the version of the screenplay online, her speech about how he tried to sexually assault her, it went on a lot longer, and it turned into, like, making the subtext text.
Oh.
So that was kind of frustrating. But then, the good part was, during the Man's Folly course, not only did the women get that extra course that the men didn't get, and Tyler was so mad about it, they got bread!
I got bread!
Oh, they should have kept that. That would have been great.
That would have been great.
Like that.
You monster, provide them bread!
No,
it's like this comedy bit that I saw on YouTube just recently. He's like, salad is not food. Salad is a promissory note that food is coming.
Salad is also something I don't eat because I have an aversion to text, but I want to read one of the lines. So Bryce, the Asian guy whose birthday they said it was, he comes in and he says, "You got bread? This is so fucking reverse sexist." I'm like, I wish they had kept that in.
That would have been really funny. That would have been a very funny bit.
Here's the thing. I'm not completely on board with the idea of the women getting bread. And here's why.
Okay.
Because they still are part of that system. I feel like if there was like a little Easter egg at the end where it's like he sneaks bread into Margot's to-go bag, I would have bought that.
Well, I mean, technically she already has bread by virtue of having the cheeseburger.
That is bread.
I think it was supposed to be like sort of a reverse pink tax.
There you go.
Okay. That seems fair.
I can rock with that, yes.
And, you know, the entire point of the course was Man's Folly. It's like, this is the one point where, yeah, we are reverse sexist. Like, but you guys had a chance to escape. It's not our fault. You fucked it up.
My favorite part of the escape scene was when the guy hid in the chicken coop. And they just kind of handed him the plate. They were like, come on, we know you want to come out. Come on. It's like a scared animal.
Honestly, I just love the chemistry between the food critics. I was like, I could watch an entire movie of just you two talking.
I absolutely believe those two are having, like, an affair or a work affair of some kind.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 1,000%.
Or at the very least, they're each other's work spouses, absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting thing about the critic, Lillian, though, she smokes.
Yeah?
Remember what Tyler said at the beginning?
You'll kill your palate.
Oh,
Lillian
yes.
probably is not as good a critic as she thinks she is.
Oh, she definitely is, and you get that vibe. She's just trying so fucking hard.
She's overcompensating.
Yeah.
But even before we see her smoking and her and the critic are just having that back and forth about the courses, I was just like, this makes sense, but you're talking just to talk at this point. It almost felt like, I don't know, academic posturing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There are definitely foodies who are there for the love of food, and then there are foodies like basically almost everybody in that room.
I'd still rather sit with them than with Tyler.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fuck Tyler.
Fuck Tyler so goddamn much. And again,
He
Nick
doesn't
has
deserve that. Margo doesn't deserve to be put through that.
Here's the thing. If you have to see this more than once to get this. I feel like their first scene together, you feel like, are they a couple, but he's kind of cold?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you see it a second time and realize who Margo is and her relationship to Tyler, you can tell from minute one that she's a sex worker of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was fascinating.
I will say, Callie and I, we literally watched this for the very first time last week, so I would love to hear you elaborate.
Because it's just like, yeah, there are like little lines and little physical gestures that that Margo does of like putting her head on his shoulder, and he kind of shrugs her away, and then there's like, oh, it doesn't matter, you're paying. So it's like, you know, the first time you think that, okay, he's the couple, you could read it as like a heteronormative thing where it's like they're a couple and he's the man, so he pays.
Right.
But then
and also potentially this is a new relationship. That's what it felt like the first time I saw this,
exactly,
with the continued references to Miss Westervelt.
Yeah, and it also just kind of came off, at least to me, it's like he knows she's out of his league, and that's part of why he keeps on putting her down. Like, because he does keep on making these references. It's just like, yeah, no, I was definitely not being seen with someone like you when I went to prom, or something like that.
And then you watch it a second time, and you watch those scenes over again.
Mm-hmm.
It almost feels, it gives it a second layer of, you know, obviously we know who Margo is, and she's a sex worker, and it just gives him a layer of just almost like he's just kicking her in the teeth the entire scene.
Because he can.
And he knows she's gonna die. Like,
so what
that's
does it
another
matter?
reason he's not really engaging with it.
And, you know, speaking of Tyler, somebody made a post that's just like, this man knew he was going to die and was still taking those pictures. What was the reason? Like, it really goes to show just how stupid and self-involved this man really is.
I thought Elsa was an interesting character.
Oh, yeah.
I think Hong Chau's Oscar nomination was actually for this, not for The Whale. Or at least I choose to believe that it was, but the Academy hates genre films that aren't.
Here's the thing, Sam. I'll give you an LA secret. A lot of people thought the same thing.
That is comforting to know.
But yeah, Elsa is fascinating. Because, like, I think the thing that not freaks me out, but unnerves me about her the most is just the way she cultivates this hatred for Margo so quickly. Like, even before Slowick starts showing Margo some kind of favoritism, she's still, like,
yeah, that was a little
going
weird.
out of her way to make Margo feel uncomfortable about the fact that she's not supposed to be there.
I honestly have a theory that, because one of her last words is that you will not replace me. So I have a weird feeling Elsa was somehow in Margo's place and was also kind of chosen in spite of it. Obviously, it couldn't have been an event to the same degree, otherwise Slovic would be dead. But some kind of similar vibe must have happened between the two of them back before she had this position.
This is going to sound weird and almost kind of easy. I feel like Elsa noticed that Slowick kept calling Margo back to the kitchen. And I feel like in that sleep-deprived, almost cult-like way, because you could read that entire kitchen as a cult.
Oh, it's a death cult.
And
That's absolutely
They're absolutely a cult.
I got military vibes from the bunk room that they were in. I was like, are we at boot camp or are we at a chef's kitchen?
I mean...
But my point stands is that he keeps calling her back to the kitchen, and you could feel like, I feel like at least some of the process in Elsa's head was, does he like her? Does he like her? Like, I'm 12. I'm sorry.
I mean, my thought when they got to the barrel thing was that Slowick had sent Margot to get the barrel with the intent of her not being able to find it, and so then Margot would live, and that was what was running through Elsa's head, so she went back to, like, make sure that Margot died.
And also, she even said, he didn't tell me to get it, and, I mean, I think we've all been in positions at our jobs where we are just like, no, I didn't do anything wrong, you weren't clear in your instructions.
Been there.
Like, because being in any kind of service position absolutely puts you on the defense. Constantly.
Anybody notice that after Elsa's death, we're going into spoiler territory, they got another maitre d' almost instantly?
Boy, oh boy. Yeah.
It's like they've always said, you know, if you died tomorrow, by the end of the day, they'd have your job posted on Indeed and ready to go.
I thought that was the sommelier, like,
No, the sommelier was the guy with the wine, who's really interesting, by the way.
They also did immediately have, oh god, what was the name of the guy who was the mess? Like, they immediately had him replaced.
Jeremy,
yes, they immediately had Jeremy replaced, so either way, you're totally right.
I mean, I did not notice that, but when I was watching it this most recent time, I was watching for Dale. Because as I looked back, it turned out Dale was one of the security guards the entire time. And people just didn't notice him. I didn't notice him.
I thought he was in the kitchen.
Good movies do such excellent sleight of hand, and I'm just like, mwah.
But no, it's like when you work retail, they say, when you die, your boss is going to come to your funeral. Like, it's not your day off. Why did you have to die today? I'm understaffed now.
Oh, that's painful.
But
it's
not
true,
inaccurate.
But it's painful.
Not inaccurate at all, but...
I didn't say it didn't hurt.
Too real, man. Too real. But then again, so's the commentary in this movie.
I will say another thing that I think did kind of indicate that Slowick was a bad guy was how frustrated he got over the no substitutions things. Like, on the one hand, yes, as somebody who's worked in the service industry, it is annoying to get those requests from substitutions, but as somebody who very often makes requests for substitutions because I'm an autistic, palate-sensitive, texture-sensitive little baby, sometimes I need those because otherwise I'm going to be, like, gagging, you know?
Jazz will tell you. Jazz has eaten with me. Jazz has had to deal with this.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, God complex.
Yeah, he absolutely has a God complex. And, well, yes, I do sympathize with all he has gone through as a service work. Someone who has worked in food service. Like, it sucks. It is one of the worst things, but also, again, he has let his status go to his head and make him forget the ways that he can still absolutely cause oppression. Like, even just in terms of how he treated Catherine. And
there's a line from a movie, I won't specify what because I don't want to spoil it, but the character says, "There is no God, that's why I had to step in." Mm-hmm. And that very much fits
line.
This vibe.
Yeah,
I love that line.
Looking at the list of courses that ended up in the movie, because there were some that didn't end up in the movie, but of the food that was served, I really only would have eaten the memory tacos and the cheeseburger. Like, everything else, it would have been like, nope.
I would have tried it because I do have some foodie tendencies. Although it would depend on what kind of mood I was in that day.
I have food allergies and food texture issues. It's great.
I would have tried the meat with the scissors in it. That looked edible.
Oh yeah, that's the taco.
Okay, that was the taco. It
yeah,
looked different.
with the With the tortillas deliciosas.
Oh God.
God, that line from Hong Chow, so fucking funny.
It was really funny.
I'm sorry.
As I believe the token Latino here, so yeah, that was very funny. Even though that is not quite.
And she says it to Arturo, whose character Soren.
That is true.
Like, there's just so many like little details, and even if you're not in the service industry, of just story beats that not necessarily go unsaid, but just like the maitre d' gets replaced right away. We never hear from the investor again. You know, the what Elsa or the sommelier is doing at any moment, and it was just like, I just love a movie. I say a lot, like, I want to live in this script, or I want to like marry this script, or I'm a writer, so I have issues. But it's like,
it's so good.
None of this, it doesn't seem like a lot of this is on the page. It feels like it's a lot of things that you do in the room, or at least doing your actor homework.
Yeah, apparently the way it was is that they would make sure they got the take as written in the script, and then they'd get a take to improvise, which is how we got Ray Fiennes' Taco Tuesday. And I'd be willing to bet that Tortillas Deliciosas was also an improv.
I love that they did a take just exactly as the script and then let them kind of be a little more free. That is such a really good policy to play when it's filming.
It's almost like a love letter to actors at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said in the chat, this would be an amazing play.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, because for the people in internet land, we have pre-shows and pre-talks about these things.
Yeah.
Last week I would have agreed with you. This week I'm not so sure.
Oh.
Okay, go into why.
Because, I mean, obviously, if we were to break it down to its bare bones, it takes place essentially in one place.
Mm-hmm.
It's talky as hell. And those are great things. I mean, you know, Merchant Ivory made careers off of that. A certain famous New York director made careers off that. And it's like, yes, I know, I saw, but, it just seems like it has a voyeuristic quality that I feel like you really can't capture in a play without winking to the audience, and it just doesn't seem to be the kind of story that would allow for that.
Yeah, you don't really want to go too meta with that. I will grant you that.
At least not in a proscenium theater. In a traditional proscenium theater, I totally get what you're saying. But for, like, a theater in the round...
Or
like
a
circle
black
in a
box?
square.
Yeah. A black box or, like, circle in the square.
Yeah.
That, I think, could be more conducive.
Because then you could have, like, during Man's Folly, you could have them literally run off the theater and into the audience to try to escape.
Well, now I'm just imagining, like, in one of these more intimate settings, like, they have the audience, like, sitting at tables as well, and maybe it's like a dinner theater sort of thing.
I love theater performances where the audience gets to sit among the actors. I got to sit on stage for The Strange Undoing of Prudencia Hart. That was fun.
Don't make me cry about Great Comet again, because that's a very Great Comet thing.
Oh, Great Comet. But I still think that this would be a really interesting play to see staged. You'd have to make modifications, obviously, but
Of course.
But when don't
I think it's still a great play to be staged because it's also theoretically not very technically difficult. Like, one of the things I definitely give as a point in its favor is that it is so sparing with the violence. Like, one of the scenes that was cut, do you remember how Lillian kept getting bigger and bigger bits of broken emulsion?
Yeah.
Well, at one point, they were going to bring in a giant pail of emulsion and waterboard her with it, while at the same time, there would be an 8th course called Gone Nuts, which would be peanut dashi, peanut foam, peanut curd, peanut brittle, and raw peanuts hand-fed to the movie star because he was allergic to them.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say something like that.
Okay, that's going into Saw territory, but I like the idea.
That is not the
So that's a good thing that they cut it.
Yeah, because
Because I
this
think
is
the
not a
movie's
Saw
much
thing.
more elegant when the only violence you have is the finger, the mess, and then the end.
And also the taco. Or wait, no, that was Man's
The-
Folly.
The pre
Oh,
right
wait,
into the taco.
and oh right, and else. Oh, okay. There's a little more violence in that, but it's
It's
elegant
not a gory movie,
violence.
is what you're saying.
It's sparing.
Yeah, I definitely was expecting a lot more gore by its reputation, but it's actually very subtle. Subtle compared to, say, torture porn, as we've mentioned, like Saw.
I mean, like, we never see Doug Varick's fingers in the gift bags. We just see somebody look in and go, oh.
Yeah. I mean, you could maybe make the argument that this is closer to, like, the first Saw, where it actually is, like, just not nearly as gory as the rest of the series ended up being, but...
Or even if you want to read it... Or even if you want to read it at surface level... Or even if you want to read it at surface level, I felt like it was a really, really, really screwed up version of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I totally see that. I could totally see that. Absolutely.
I'm standing by my play casting for the chef. I'm standing by it. Patrick Page. He is the best choice.
Here's the thing. I've been thinking about it because it is an interesting concept and I feel like it could work. I just feel like a certain director, especially in that prestige theater scene that is Broadway, would have a little too much fun with stuff like the violent, with the mess, or, Elsa's death, and just kind of turn it into torture porn. But I feel like in like 20 to 30 years, you could bring back Nicholas Hoult and have him play Slowick.
Ooh.
And make it meta.
Interesting.
There's a director that I'm thinking of that might work for this. He's directed in Circle in the Square before.
Mm-hmm.
He did Once on This Island and Deaf West Spring Awakening. He's married to Andy Menetnes, and I cannot remember his name.
Are you talking about Michael Arden?
Yeah.
Who just won the Tony for Parade?
I'm not good with names, but yes. I think he could do an interesting job with this. He's directed at Circle in the Square before with a very successful production, so we know he knows how to use that circle theater idea well, a theater in the round well. He brought a goat in for Once on This Island. He had a live goat.
Oh, I remember that. That was fun, but yeah.
Maybe.
So, like I said, we'd want to bring back Judith Light. We'd want Patrick Page for Slowick. Who's your ideal Margot on stage?
That is hard. I actually wonder if maybe it'd be best if she was an unknown. Like, it's like a big break role for whoever the actress was, because, like, you get all these people who are names for all the other characters, and this is like a big break role for whoever plays Margot.
I could see that. I also think I love Anya Taylor-Joy, but I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity not to have Margot played by a woman of color.
I mean, yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's very fair.
But then again,
that's fair.
looking at the writing team and whatnot, I can understand not wanting to step out of their lane.
Yeah,
quite that much, and also Tyler does low-key give off the kind of vibes that he would be racist enough to request a white date.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, because he has her there as to continue his status symbol, his attempts to social climb. Anyway, go ahead.
The
Matt,
only problem I would have with casting an unknown is Margot, and this is more of from a publicity standpoint, is that they lean into the fact that Margot is a sex worker, and since we live in an age where nuance and media literacy are not in great places, that this actress, whoever she may be, unless she absolutely kills it, like we're talking like winning Tonys, movie contracts at the end of the thing, like unless it's a Star is Born moment, she's going to be labeled her entire career.
True.
That
I feel like
that is a fair issue to have.
I feel like that would scare actors off.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong.
But it's a fair point to make there. I don't disagree that it would have to be very carefully done. Like, this would have to be a production that really emphasizes, not only is this part of the reason she survived, it's part of, like, they really would need to really lean into the final girl vibes for that.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I just...
Speaking of the final girl, this is the one movie where being a Karen and the power of class solidarity intersect in our final girl.
Yes. Like, she just turned it around against him, and it was so good!
That whole monologue where she tells him off.
Yeah?
That whole monologue where she just tells him off.
Ah.
That...
It was originally longer, and I'm glad that they cut it down.
Oh, good. Yeah, no.
And also, it was originally done with her having gotten the chocolate hat and the marshmallow blanket put over her.
I'm glad they cut that. Okay. No, they needed her to go in with dignity.
I'm glad they made it more assertive.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, I wanted more of that, but after hearing that, cut it off where it is.
Yeah, because it was at its perfect length, and it's a commentary on art in general, that some people are just so obsessed with the prestige that they forgot the joy of creation. And it's a good commentary on, just how people, even just seeing how, quote-unquote film Twitter talks about, like, superhero movies, for example. It's just like... Exactly. Exactly. That is the reaction I was going for, because... Ain't it the truth?
So extra insufferable right now because of the strikes. It's like, where? I want more content. And I'm like, you shut up, you sit down. They need more from the studios first.
It's just, like, this entire thing. Like, I was thinking about Margot as the final girl, and while I love it, I feel like Taylor-Joy brings a sort of... not a naive quality, but I just kept looking into her eyes, and she's got these big doe eyes.
She does.
I'm
and
like
she knows how to use them.
90% sure that Anya Taylor-Joy is an actual goddamn changeling. Like, she looks like an elf come from the Fey realm.
Oh, definitely. I would not be surprised.
I remember when she did SNL in May of 22.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, if you were to put that woman in front of me and say, what does she do for a living? I would have told you she's an actress. 1,000% she's an actress. Like, she doesn't even sell perfume. Like, she doesn't sell perfume. She's not a model in either sense of the word. Like, she is an actress. It's just... And apparently she speaks perfect Spanish. Because she ends
she's
Argentinian. She was born in Argentina.
And I was like, that's not fair. Leave some talent for the rest of us. It's just like, she's got this, she knows what she can do and she knows how to use it beautifully. And I feel like the way she's able to use her eyes in this picture, I feel like that at least got her most of the way into the part.
Oh, almost certainly.
It's like, it's not even terrifying. It's just like, she strikes a balance between a little bit of naivete, a little bit of a trickster vibe, and then when she realized what's going on, just absolute terror. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I honestly think she could make a second career as a scream queen if she wanted.
I would love to see it.
Or at least that type.
Like, she absolutely could be doing as many horror movies as Jenna Ortega is right now.
I mean, she's very good at falling into whatever genre you need to have her be in, except maybe the Playmobil movie. That was bad. But,
they can't all be winners.
Like, she's good in period films like Emma and The Northman. She's good in Queen's Gambit. She's good in this. I don't think I've ever seen her give a bad performance per se. She's just picked bad movies sometimes.
Which, with how much work she's been getting lately, it was bound to happen,
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Anything else that we haven't covered yet? Because at this point, all I can think is speculating about what Slowick said to Tyler to make Tyler hang himself.
I thought Tyler's scene in the kitchen was hilarious.
It was so satisfying.
It was satisfying and just further solidifies what an idiot Tyler is, because he could have just, if he had made a simple grilled cheese, he might have been able to save himself at least some dignity.
Yeah, but no, he had to try to fly too close to the sun. Again, to bring back the film Twitter comparisons, like these people who act like they know everything, but then you kind of throw them into the heat of it, and suddenly they're just flailing.
I feel like, because of Slowick's whole speech of like, when he started the mess, of like, he's good, but he'll never be great. I feel like that's what he whispered into Tyler's ear, and he just couldn't take it.
I can see it.
I mean, what I thought he said was, the menu will not finish while you still live.
Oh.
That makes more sense. Or some kind of combination of both.
Like, it just, I will admit, it would...
Maybe, but I feel like he was ready to die with the whole, with the s'more finale.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that was Slowick's immediate best way to destroy him. It's like, I will make us all sit here, and we will slowly starve to death until you are dead.
You don't even
before
deserve...
I finish this goddamn menu. You don't deserve to get to the end of my story.
Oh,
just that
God.
How they introduce those courses and how they shoot them is just gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
I know
it looks really pretty. I don't want to eat any of it, but it looks pretty.
That's bad, yeah.
For a second I do, and then you realize, no, this dude's crazy. But there's a making of feature on Max if you go in the extras tab. And I think they brought the guy, they brought one of the cinematographers, I think, who shoots Chef's Table to do those shots.
Oh, wow.
Cool. And I also found out they trained everybody who was an extra as like a line cook and such. They trained all those actors to know how to do that stuff so that the continuity and the in-characterness and whatever would still be spot on.
I love that.
And
like so smart.
Okay,
that is really cool. It would be even cooler if you weren't, scanning your actors to steal their likeness.
Basically.
Okay, so maybe this wouldn't be too hard to stage in New York after all, but... But,
oh, God.
Is that a joke about actors being waiters?
It's true, ain't it, Sam?
Yeah.
He's not
unfortunately.
Yeah. Again, pay your actors!
Pay your actors! Pay your writers!
Pay everybody!
Pay everybody.
Oh, we're serious because Matt pulled the mic like right up to his face.
Yep.
No, I just love this movie so much.
Me too.
It's a really good movie.
It's
It should
very
have gotten
much...
the Best Original Screenplay Oscar nomination. How did it not?
I honestly feel like it was that close.
I hope so. Because, reward shows are bullshit. We know it, but...
Yep, award shows are bullshit until the thing you like wins.
Yeah.
Amen.
You didn't have to call me out like that, Sam, but you're right.
That's what I'm here for. I'm a Jedi. I'm inside your mind.
The 2017 Tonys will live in infamy forever.
Yes. Man, we were bringing up great comment a lot on this. I do want to talk a bit about the s'mores, if that's okay.
Let's talk about the s'mores. Actually, yes, I wouldn't like to die in the s'mores, but that whole setup looked so pretty, and I kind of do want a hat of chocolate and a marshmallow cape to eat.
It's just, it's amazing how goofy it is, but also terrifying. And what he says about his whole speech about s'mores, it's, I hate to say it, but it's entirely accurate, because he's an asshole, but it is entirely accurate.
I mean, those of us who know at what temperature chocolate melts, that's the whole scene where I didn't think it was real until it started melting. or real in the film sense. But
I'm going to assume that they had, like, heat lamps going.
Must have.
Or something as they were shooting it.
It
Or
could have been
real-
CGI'd in, yeah.
well, no, but like real in the movie's world. That was real. I thought it was like a big metaphor. But I was just like, oh my god, like you're gonna like burn these people alive, and then you realize, oh yeah, that was his plan. But that was just me going over to seeing it the first time. But I was just like, I don't know whether this is like fantastic performance art or the work of a psychopath, which, you know.
Yes.
Probably both.
Yes.
Very thin line.
That is the
Although
answer.
apparently in one version of the script, they were gonna have the final course be over the charred wreckage and bodies.
Oh.
Did you hear the rumor about how apparently there was going to be a shot of Slowick's dismembered head?
Oh.
I did not hear that. I'm glad we didn't see that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It would have taken, like, again, this is a very subtle movie. I mean, the message is not subtle, but in terms of violence, it's pretty subtle. So I'm kind of glad we did it.
I think the subtleness is what the movie needed. If it went too hard with a baseball bat over your head, it wouldn't have been as good as it was.
Oh yeah, 1000%. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the shooting script is a lot more overt and unsubtle to the point where it is kind of painful. Like, the thing that it reminded me most of is Vox Lux.
Oh. Also,
Oh,
did
boy.
anyone else notice the point where Arturo's character also says, "We love you, chef"? At that
They
point?
all say it, and it's like, that's the moment when they I think that's just the moment when you're supposed to, like, see all the hope dying in their eyes.
I don't think they all said it. I only
Yeah,
said
I don't think so
Felicity
either.
said it too.
Oh, fair enough. But yeah, it's kind of wild how some of them have just kind of been indoctrinated in the moments before their death.
Here's the thing.
And
I don't
we
think
want-
it's indoctrination as much as their screw it moment. We're done.
Yeah. I think, I mean, what little you saw of Arturo's face, I was like, no, I think he's actually bought into it somehow. I think it's just, the horrors were relentless and he couldn't take it.
Or he's dissociating. I don't... It is a pretty weird freaking moment, but at the same time, hell of a finale.
It is, especially as it keeps on cutting to Margot just running away with her fucking cheeseburger. It's like, yeah, and then she just watches the flames as she eats it.
That was a good cheeseburger, though.
This is a good for her movie.
It's a good for her movie that isn't as questionable as, like, say, somebody saying Midsummer is a good for her movie. Midsummer is not a good for her movie.
Good movie, but very, very unsubtle.
Yeah. Again,
right.
media literacy is dying.
Media literacy may be dying, but there's one litmus test we can always go with. Is the Force with it?
Yes.
Yes.
The Force is with it always.
Call us all Sith, because we're dealing in absolutes. It's unanimous. The Force is with it.
Woo.
Good. All right, who has Pluggables?
Well, you can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and TikTok under Faye Riviera, but more importantly, you can find my podcast, In Each Retelling, the podcast where we explore all the ways old tales are made new, on whenever you get your podcasts. We're actually planning on posting all of our episodes on YouTube as well, now that the strike is finally over. And keep an eye out for IER6D, the spin-off podcast of both of these podcasts, because turns out there's a whole lot of overlap. Enjoy that.
I will be starting a new podcast here shortly called Postcards from Mystic Falls. It's going to be a recap and social commentary on all three series from the CW's The Vampire Diaries universe, and I'm super excited to get this project started.
You can find me on Letterboxd at Matt the Movie Guy.
And you can check out my YouTube channel, La Femme Fictionale, for feminist media critiques. Find me on Patreon, Twitter, and Instagram at Femme Fictionale, and on TikTok at FictionaleFemme. Our theme music is provided by Refractory Period, the two girls, one beat synth-pop sensation. You can follow them on Instagram at Refractory Period the band. To support this podcast, please subscribe to us on your platform of choice, leave reviews, and share with your friends to boost our visibility. And now, it's time to turn to the Chance Cube, so let's refresh ourselves on our categories. Degree 1. Non-Star Wars, but still made by George Lucas or Lucasfilm. Degree 2. Stars one of the main trio from a trilogy or the lead of a show or standalone series. Degree 3 stars a supporting cast member from multiple projects. Degree 4 stars a supporting cast member from one movie or project. Degree 5 made by a Star Wars crew or creative team member who is not George Lucas and also does not have any of the previous degrees. This includes composers like John Williams, directors like Ron Howard, writers like Lawrence Kasdan, sound engineers like Ben Burt, and any other fields that involved Star Wars in some way, because film is, and always has been, a collaborative effort. Degree 6 stars a co-star of degrees 2 through 4, or appears in a degree 1 or 5. All right, let's roll the chance cube and see what we get.
That is a 5.
Is that a 5?
It is a 5, which means next time we are going with Newsies from 2017. We will see you all next time when we will be covering the 2017 Newsies. In the meantime, stay safe, stay beautiful.
Also be nice to your waitresses and service workers.
Yes, that too. May the Force be with them. They absolutely need it. Bye!